Psalms chapter 84 and verse 10. For a day in thy courts is better than 1,000. So 1 day in the kingdom of heaven is better than 1,000 of your best days on this side, man. Let me repeat that again. One single day in the kingdom of heaven is better than 1,000 of your best days on this side, man. Okay? When things were better for you. Moments that you can reminisce on and say, yeah, that was a good day. The kingdom of heaven blows it out the park, man. It blows out the water. Just 1 day. Not to mention, the Heavenly Father, He's going to stretch out the time. He's going to expand the time so you can enjoy your immortality. You can enjoy your life. And the Lord said in Wisdom of Solomon, He created the Israelite man to be an image of His own eternity, man. We're going to be a likeness of His own eternity, man. We're going to be many most highs, man. We're going to be many most highs. Okay? God's on earth under Yahweh Shemiah Shah. And also what's going to make us gods? These laws, statutes, and commandments, and us judging by the laws, statutes, and commandments, but also these laws being in our inward parts, making us those perfect judges. Not to mention, we experience these different reincarnations in this wicked flesh, so we know how to judge the flesh. We know how to judge this body because we've been in this body many times. Okay? But once again, the kingdom of heaven is going to be patterned after the mind of Yahweh Shemiah Shah, man. A righteous paradigm.
Abanawa, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Haya, Shamka. Yahweh Malakwatka, Taba'a Ratazaka. Haya, Aisha, Ba'arataza. Kawa, Haya, Bashemayim. Nathan Lanawa, Lakam, Kal Yawam, Wasalak Lanawa, Kawabwat Nawa, Kasalak Nawa, Kawabwati Nawa, Wala'a, Sabaya Nawa, Banasayawan, Abal, Haushai Nawa, Mayan, Rai Kaya, Laka, Hamalakwa, Waha'ala, Wahatafa Aras, La Iwalumium, Aman.
After this manner therefore pray ye, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Barakatah Yahweh Shah, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers. And peace and blessing salutations to the hopeful lake out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful lake, the believers, the listeners who may have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Al Shai. All right. And what I want to get into today is going into 2nd Esdras, the 11th chapter. All right, which this chapter, pretty sums up, all right, the rulership of Edom Rome. Okay. And it's a time period that covers from Julius Caesar, all right, to Domitian, which was the last ruler of the Flavian, all right, dynasty, all right, which was started by Vespasian, So this chapter, pretty much goes into the happenings, okay, of what was going on with these different Roman Caesars, some more popular than others, some household names, okay. And this just shows that the Bible, is, all right, let me see. When you go into the Bible, okay, it pretty much goes into the permission. You know what I'm saying? People talk about permission. Well, when you go into the Bible, it gives certain people, all right, and nations, okay, permission to have rulership and authority in the earth. Okay. Matter of fact, let's start here before we get to Second Esdras. Let's start here to um what's that Psalms? We'll probably go back to it. This same chapter. Let's read a little bit of it now. And that's why the most important knowledge to have on the planet Earth is the knowledge of the scriptures. Being privy to prophecies, the history. Okay, that's the most potent knowledge, to have. All right, because the Bible deals with the rulership of the earth. Okay, now you go to Psalm 75:5. I started 4. So I said unto the fools, deal not foolishly, and to the wicked, lift not up the horn. Lift not up your horn on high, speak not with a stiff neck. For promotion coming neither from the east, nor from the west, nor from the south, but the Most High is the judge. He put it down one and set up another. And often with the heathens, and even with us, okay, certain times, even we, will get in power and forget, okay, that we was given permission for rulership, okay, by Yahweh by Shema Shai, okay. The Lord gives the authority, okay, and the okay for different nationalities of men to have rulership in the earth, okay, and often, especially amongst the heathen, there will be a sense of pride, okay. These nations will get to boasting and what they've done. Certain rulers, will think of themselves as gods and, some type of divine, okay? But ultimately, all rulership comes from Yahweh Bashim Shai, okay? He has to sign off on any nation coming into power. And he has to sign off on a nation being removed from power, because until the Lord wants to remove a nation, there's nothing that can be done, okay? So let's go to it. Second Ezra 11, it's a pretty, there's a lot of history, but it's interesting, and especially now since we're in, okay, Rome 2.0. All right, it's good to understand, the happenings, okay, of the Roman Empire. Okay, so let's because you understand, the more we understand ancient Rome, the more we understand, present day Rome. It's something I'm learning over these last, few weeks. But oh yeah, the brother got one. All right, this is the brother GMS prayer always hopeful elect. All right, the brother Corner Wath. This is Daniel 2:21. It says, and he changes the times and the season. He removeth kings and setteth up kings. He giveth wisdom unto the wise and knowledge to them that know understanding. Okay, so it's the Lord that removed kings and set it up kings. Okay, all that is ordained from Yahweh by Shema Shai. Okay, and this is why we know, all right, that according to prophecy, all right, Israel will be the next, all right, and last rulership, okay, of the earth, of existence. Okay, and this is why we in some beautiful times as we see the end, okay, of the age of Esau and the beginning, okay, of Jacob, is we're in that transition period. Okay, now this is the book of Second Ezra, chapter 11, verse 1 says, then I saw a dream, and behold, there came up from the sea an eagle, all right, which had 12 feather wings and 3 heads. Okay, and the eagle, all right, represents the Roman Empire. Okay, and these 3 heads, okay, are going into the first first triumvirate. Okay, which we'll get into that. All right, and these 12 feathers represent the 12 Caesars. Okay, starting with Julius Caesar, ending with Domitian. Okay, which we'll get into all these things. Now, these 3 heads. Okay, I want to go here. All right. Let's see. Yep, let's go here. Deal with the first triumphal. all right, because the first triumphal was a political, okay, alliance between Julius Caesar, all right, what they call Pompey the Great, okay, and also you had Marcus Crassus, okay, and these three men, okay, pretty much made an alliance, all right, during the time of the Roman Republic, before it was established as an empire, and they made an alliance, to get their agendas passed through the Senate, okay, because the Senate, okay, had the ability, the Senate was really the power of the Roman Empire. They would have the ability to stop a lot of things that that certain, the consul, because that was the highest office you can have was a consul in within the Senate House. Okay, and the consul, he will have a hard time getting particular things passed, through the Senate. Okay, and when Julius Caesar was a consul, and he would have a hard time getting things passed, okay, he had to make an alliance, with two powerful men. Okay, now you had Pompeius Magnus, all right, or Pompey the Great, all right. You had Marcus, all right, Crassus, and you had Gaius Julius Caesar, and they made up those three heads that we read about in Second Esdras, uh, 11:1, all right, also known as the first triumvirate. Okay, and when you go into their roles, okay, Julius Caesar, okay, he was the charismatic, all right, general, okay, military, strategic, okay, war hero. He was pretty much like the people's champ. He had the love of the people and the love of the legions, the soldiers. All right, and he had, the gift of gab. He could put plays together. He was crafty in how he moved politically. Okay, and then you had Pompey. He was a military hero as well. He came before Julius. He was a war hero. Okay, before Julius, became popular, and he was more of a brute. He was a man of war, but he wasn't, as he didn't have the charisma, okay, of Julius. He didn't have the gift of gab as Julius, but he was, a war hero, and he was a military strategic as well. Okay, and it was under him that Judea became a province of the Roman Empire, which I have this book. Matter of fact, it's a spirit. I'm over here by these books, but I have the study Bible, and when you go in between the testaments, all right, it has a section in here in between the testaments, and it goes into the Roman Empire, all right, and it goes to Pompey. So it says when Pompey, because you had Jake, during the time of the Hasmonean dynasty, it was Pompey that pretty much came in and put a rule and put an end to the Hasmonean dynasty and established Herod, okay, as a puppet king of Rome over Judea. That was under Pompey, which represents one of these heads, okay, on this eagle, okay, member of the first triumvirate, okay. So it says when Pompey suspected Ascrobalus, all right, of planning to rebel against Rome, he besieged Jerusalem, all right, and Ascrobalus was a Levite, all right, and he was pretty much a prince of the Hasmonean dynasty, okay, and you have infighting amongst Jake, okay, and you had Antipater, the Idumean, okay, he would pretty much interfere, with the politics of Judea and back, a certain Jake, he would back, certain rulers for his agenda. And ultimately he, slid his son Herod the Great. Okay. When Pompey came and took down Judea, he slid his son Herod the Great into that seat, okay, of a king of Judea. Okay, and that's how you have the Herodian dynasty that ruled over Judea. Okay, that was during the time, okay, of Pompey the Great. All right, and it says he besieged Jerusalem after 3 months. He breached the fortification into the city and reportedly murdered 12,000 Jews. Pompey and his officers entered the Holy of Holies in the temple, but he did not touch his costly furnishings, and allowed temple worship to continue in Jerusalem. However, it said Jerusalem, however, was made tributary to the Romans, and the last vestige, all right, of the Israelite independence was removed. Judea was incorporated into the Roman province of Syria, okay, and it lost the coastal cities, the district of Samaria, and the non-Israelite cities east of Jordan. Okay, so just a little history on Pompey, and his role, with absorbing Judea into, okay, the Roman Republic, which later would become an empire by the time Yahweh Shah was born. Okay, because all this happened about 45, 50 years before Yahweh Shah was born, their history. But yeah, so these are those three heads, okay, that represent, okay, the those three heads, okay, on second Ezra 11:1. Okay. So let's go back here. Okay. So those 12 wings, okay, represents the 12 Caesars, okay, and we'll pull them up, all right. But you had Julius Caesar being the first, okay. Then you had his nephew Augustus Caesar being the second wing, okay, second feather. Then you had Tiberius being the third, Caligula the fourth, Claudius the fifth, okay. Which on the Claudius you had the Jews, expelled out of Rome. Okay, you read that in the book of Acts. Okay, then you had Nero, all right, after Claudius, okay, and then you had the year or the four emperors, okay, which you had Galbo, Otho, Ventilius, okay, which they give you 9 of the 12 fellas. Okay, then you have Vespasian, which represent the 10th, which started the Flavian dynasty, and then you had Titus, and then you had Dementia, okay, which those represent the 12, feathers, okay, on the body of the eagle. All right, we're gonna have this chart, okay, to go by. We'll visit this chart, okay. Let me see. There you go. Yep. So yeah, we'll visit this chart. As we touch on each of these emperors, I found a pretty good chart. That we can reference from. Dealing with these Caesars. Try to keep everything neat. And cute. Okay. But it started with Augustus, but because historians consider Augustus the first Caesar. Okay. But prophecy considers Julius Caesar himself. All right, which will make sense. We roll with the Bible. Okay. The Bible, okay, overrides, okay, Wikipedia. All right, we use these things as tools. So, Augustus, then Tiberius, Caligula, Claudius, Nero, all right, Galba, Otho, Vitellius, okay, Vespasian, so forth and so on. And even we'll get into a few of these Jakes down here, show you how it went from Esau to Jake. So we'll go through these things. We'll keep this handy, as a reference point, so we go through the chapter. All right. So let's go back to second Esdras 11. All right, second Esdras 11. Okay, and 2, and it says, and I saw, and behold, she spread her wings over all the earth, and all the winds, all right, of the air blew on her and were gathered together. Okay, and this is, all right, the Roman Empire, okay, ruling the known world at the time. All right, her influence, okay, her shadow, her, the dominion of pagan Rome, okay, covered the known world. Okay. and we see Rome 2.0 today. That dominion has, have circulated throughout the whole earth this time. All right, but back then, pagan Rome, okay, had authority in all the earth. Any big decision made in the planet Earth, all right, they had to go through Rome. Okay, It says, and I beheld, and out of her feathers there grew other contrary feathers, and they became little feathers, okay, and small. Okay. So out of these 12, you had, certain rivalries. Okay. You had, certain uh, Caesars that didn't rule long, and really didn't have an impact. Okay. Didn't do much. Okay. And it says, but her heads were at rest. Okay. The head in the midst was greater than the other, yet rested it with the residue. Yeah, because after, the first triumvirate, okay, those three men would eventually, pass away. All right. You had Marcus Crixus. He would die first. All right. He went to war against the Parthians, which would be the Persians. And because you had Julius Caesar, pretty much becoming a war hero, you know, from his conquest with Gauls. And Marcus Crassus, he wanted that glory as well, as a war hero. And he waged a war, all right, a campaign against the Parthians, but he died. Okay. And then you had, you know, and that was pretty much Marcus Crassus. When you go into um, that dynamic of the first triumph, you had Julius Caesar, okay, was pretty much, the head that was in the midst was greater, okay, because Julius Caesar and Marcus Crassus had a relationship. Marcus Crassus and Pompey really didn't like each other. Marcus Crassus was pretty much Julius Caesar's sponsor, okay, so they had a relationship before Pompey was brought into it. So Marcus Crassus and Julius was already tight, okay, and then you had Pompey. Okay, he was brought into it later on, to be pretty much to get Marcus and Julius over the hump in the Senate. Okay, and it was Julius Caesar that mended their relationship between Marcus Crassus and Pompey. So he was a savvy talker. He was a mover and a shaker, as they say. So it was Julius Caesar that really was orchestrated this whole triumphant, the first triumphant. Okay, but Marcus Crassus died first, and then you had Pompey and Julius Caesar fell out. Pretty much the Senate hated how Julius Caesar, was pretty much doing what he wanted to do, ignoring the Senate, and they sicked Pompey on Julius. The Civil War, and Julius fled to. Pompey fled to Egypt where he was beheaded. Okay, so it was only one left, Julius, and then he became a dictator for a short span, and then eventually he was killed by the Senate. So those three heads were put to rest, and then you have what you call the Roman Empire birth, okay, into the earth, okay. So when you keep reading, it says, moreover, I beheld, and lo, the eagle flew with her feathers and reigned upon the earth, and over them that dwelt therein, because this was the birth of the empire. Because after the first triumphant, okay, you had a fallout between Mark Antony and Brutus, okay. You had their rivalry, you see, and Mark Antony teamed up with Augustus and this other Roman named, I think named Lippus, and they made the second triumph, okay. And the two dominant people in their second triumph was Mark Antony and Augustus Caesar. And eventually they went to war with Brutus. Brutus eventually killed himself, committed suicide, and then you had Mark Antony and Augustus. They had a rivalry, and Augustus emerged, the victor out of that fiasco. Okay, and he was, granted, to be the emperor. Okay, so now Rome is an empire at this point, at the end of the first triumph, and the spouts, that happened with the second triumph. Okay, so it says, I beheld, and lo, the eagle rose upon her talents and spake to her father, saying, watch not all at once, sleep everyone in his own place, and watch by course. Yeah, because each Caesar, it was only one Caesar ruling at a time. Okay, each of these 12 fellas, they ruled everyone in this course. They all had their watch. over the Roman Empire. You know, and you got to think a lot of these men, you know, will be alive at the same time, like Caligula, which was a nephew of Claudius, okay, and um, Vespasian. They was all alive at the same time, okay, but they only reigned emperor one at a time, okay. So you got verse 9 that says, but let the heads be preserved for the last. Yeah, because those three heads will come back into play, reincarnated. All right, their first triumvirate, okay, will come back, you know, as the Flavian dynasty, which we're going to go into that. All right. And it says, and I beheld, and lo, the voice went not out of her heads, but from the midst, all right, of her body, which was the Senate. Okay. So a lot of policies, you know, and laws that came from Rome, all right, will come from the Senate, you know, and the emperor could veto, okay, and the emperor, you know, had to sign off on particular things, okay. But when you go into, you know, the power that the Senate had, okay, let's go from here. Let's just get it real quick. Um, okay, the role of the Roman Senate. All right, it said the Roman Senate. Okay, matter of fact, let me go up. All right, so this goes into the role of the Roman Senate. It said the Roman Senate had many roles throughout the history of the Roman Empire, including the legislative body. The Senate created laws, debated existing laws, and passed them on to the consuls for approval. You know, consuls, all right, became emperors. Okay. It said the Senate also had the power to create emergency decrees during times of crisis. The Senate held executive power and served as the king's council, okay, or the emperor's council, those fellows. The Senate served as a law court during the Roman Empire. The Senate advised foreign and domestic policy, legislation, financial matters, and religious questions. The senator arbitrated disputes, okay, or mediated between Italian communities, provincials, and client states. The Senate regulated festivals, religious cults, all right, and public games. The Senate enacted tax laws, but only with the emperor's consent. The Senate assigned duties to magistrates and appointed senatorial commissions to help magistrates organize conquered territories. The Senate could declare an emperor a public enemy or erase, all right, their memory. You know, and the Senate did that to Julius Caesar when he was on those campaigns in Gaul. You know, they declared him an enemy of Rome. Okay. Because he pretty much, you know, he was out there conquering, and he was, you know, he was given permission, you know, to be on conquest, you know, for a certain amount of years, but you know, he stayed out there 8 years. Okay. And he was conquering, he was winning, and he was sending gifts back, you know, to the Roman people. Okay. And you know, he was like the people's champ, you know, but they eventually declared him an enemy of Rome. Like I said, they sick Pompey on him. All right. And it says the Roman Senate was the longest lasting institution in ancient Rome, surviving the Roman kingdom. All right, and that was Japhet. All right, the Roman Republic. All right, the Roman Empire, and the fall of the Western Roman Empire. The Roman Senate is considered a precursor to the U.S. Senate. Both bodies were created to gather influential people from various areas of public life. However, the U.S. Senate is more democratic than the Roman Senate, which typically use life, all right, appointments. Okay, the daily wound being healed. Okay, coming back as America, NATO, and EU. You know, but that just goes into, you know, the authority that the Senate had. All right. So when you go back to Second Esdras, okay, then you go back into Second Esdras, chapter 2, okay, verse 10 is, I beheld, and lo, the voice went not out of her heads, but from the midst of her body. All right, that Senate. And I numbered her contrary feathers, and beheld, there were 8 of them. Okay, which you had, you know, I say you had certain emperors, okay, Caesars, okay, that wasn't as renowned, okay, because one thing about which all of them were wicked, they were Edomites, and they was all into other gods, they hated, the followers of Yahweh, okay, and they were wicked Edomites, they were lewd, okay, some more lewd than others, but you did have a few, that their rulership did, do justice, okay, to the empire, Julius, Augustus, you know, um, Vespasian, okay, and the third is argue. I mean, the fourth, well, you can argue with a few, okay, but the majority of them, they was in that position to serve themselves, okay, strictly, all of them was proud, vain, of course they served themselves, you know, but some of them, the majority of them were wild, Caligula, Nero, okay, Claudius, you see, Dementia, okay, them guys were wild, you look into them. Verse 12, it says, and I looked and behold, on the right side there arose one fellow and reigned over all the earth, and this was Julius, okay, that one fella, that rose, okay, and reigned over all the earth, the known world at that time. It was Julius, who went and interfered with the Ptolemaic Empire of Egypt and removed, Ptolemy, one of those Ptolemies. Okay, I think it was like the 13th at that time. Removed him and put his sister, all right, the infamous Cleopatra that everyone talks about. Okay, put her in power. Okay, so Rome had the ability, to interfere, okay, with all the earth's affairs. Okay, similar to somebody else, similar to another empire we know. Okay, it says, and so it was that when it rained, the end of it came, and the place thereof appeared no more. Julius died. So the next following stood up and reigned and had a great time. And this is Augustus, okay, which was a nephew, was the great nephew of Julius Caesar. Okay, he was Augustus was the daughter of one of Julius's nieces. Okay, and Augustus was adopted, okay, by Julius Caesar for the sake of inheritance, and like I said, the second triumph, Julius Caesar, not Julius Caesar, but Mark Antony Augustus, all right, Lippus, okay, they overcame, their rivals, those men that conspired and killed, all right, Julius Caesar, all right, so they put down that, rivalry, okay, and Augustus emerged, the victor out of all that mayhem. All right, you have the famous story of Cleopatra and Mark Antony, committing suicide together. Okay, just because Augustus pretty much had them pinned down, to where they had nowhere to go. So their only thing was, to commit suicide. Um, they got the famous play. Okay, at the end, where Mark Antony and Cleopatra, commit suicide with each other. Okay, so Augustus, will be the one that will reign. He had a great time, which he ruled 41 years. Okay, verse 14 it says, and it happened that when it rained, the end of it came also, like as the first, so that it appeared, all right, no more. Okay, so Augustus, he would die. All right, he will pass away. All right. Then came there a voice unto it and said, all right, hear thou that has borne rule over all the earth so long, this I say unto thee, before thou beginnest to appear no more. Okay. So this is speaking to Augustus and his long, all right, rulership, which Augustus is in the Bible. Okay. When you read here, all right, because Augustus started um Augustus started his rule in 27 BC, okay, And scholars, they say Yahweh Shah was born like 3 AD. Okay. You go into, what the scholars say, they mark it around 3 AD, But in the book of Luke, all right, you see Augustus is still in power. My bad. Okay. So at the birth of Yahushua, remember, Pompey made Judea a province of Syria, and Syria was what uh, Pompey made Judea a territory of Syria, and Syria was a province of Rome. Okay, so it's Luke 2:1. It says, "And it came to pass in those days that there went out a decree from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be taxed, and this taxing was first made when Cyrenius was governor of Syria." Okay, which there was the province that Judea fell under. Okay, what you see, all right, the second fella, okay, that were ruled after Julius was Augustus Caesar, or Caesar Augustus. Okay, the month of August. Okay, is named after that devil. All right. Well, just to show you, how the Bible, you know, there's no denying it, man. You go into history, you go into the Bible, there's no denying everything match up, perfectly. All right. It's just an anti-Messiah society, that always try to prove as if the Bible is fabricated, but it links so perfectly with all secular history. Okay. So, going back to Second Esdras, second chapter. All right, it says, well, it's in verse 16. It said, "Hear thou that has borne rule over the earth so long, this I say unto thee, before thou beginnest to appear no more, for you will die, there shall none after thee attain unto thy time, neither unto the half thereof." So no other Caesar ruled, all right, even half the time that Augustus will rule, which was 41 years. All right, and I think the next one, let's go to the list real quick. All right, let's go to the list. And just to show you the accuracy of the Bible, man. You see? Here we go. So you go to the list, okay? See, okay, yeah, I like that, right? All right. So yeah, so you got Augustus, all right, 40 years, 7 months and 3 days, all right at 41 years. Okay. You had Tiberius, okay, 22 years, Caligula 3 years, 13, 13. Some of these numbers, so it's a give and take, okay. But the year of the four emperors, 7 months, 3 months, 8 months. All right. Tiberius 9 years, Titus 2 years, and Domitian, okay, 15 years. Okay. So none of them had nowhere near, the reign, okay, that because these 12 fellows were in here at Domitian. All right. So because even with Tiberius, which they say 22 years, Tiberius like retired, way before that. He had pretty much separated himself from public life and pretty much gave, rule to the Senate. Okay. So, going back here, it just shows you how accurate, the scriptures are. Okay. So going here to back to second Esdras. All right. So this second Esdras 2:18. It said, "Then arose the third, all right, which was Tiberius, and reigned as the other before, and appeared no more also. So went it with all the residue, one after another, all right, the rest of the fellows, as that everyone reigned, and then appeared no more, so they will reign, and die. Okay. And said, Then I beheld, and lo, in process of time, the fellows that followed stood up upon the right side, that they may rule also, and some of them ruled, but within a while they appeared no more. So they're just going into, the process of them being, in rulership as a Caesar and ruling no more. Those 12 fellas. He set it up one and he put up another, as a brother. Let's see, matter of fact, let's get it again, This is the process. Daniel, all right, the brother GMS prayer always hope for elect. Daniel 2:21. It says, and he changed the times and the season. He removeth kings and setteth up kings. He giveth wisdom unto the wise and knowledge to them that no understanding. So the Lord removeth kings and setteth up kings. Okay, so we're just going through that process in Second Esdras. How the Lord removed Caesars and put up Caesars. All right. The Lord oversees all rulerships of the earth. Okay. Verse 21 said, for some of them was set up, but ruled not. Okay. Because you will have, certain men. Okay. Because when the Caesar would die, most of the time it wasn't a smooth transition. You will have, men that will be declared Caesars. Okay. But they never got the opportunity. They will be put to death. Okay, or put in exile, by the one who would actually become the Caesar. Okay, so you always had different rivalries where certain men will try to proclaim themselves Caesars, or certain, sects of a certain sect of the Senate will try to proclaim certain men to be Caesar. Then you had the Praetorian Guard, which was like pretty much the personal security of the emperor. Okay, they would declare, certain people, to be Caesar. Okay. So you always had different plots, conspiracies and different things. So you had certain men, that would be a proclaimed Caesar, for a day or two. Okay. Before the actual Caesar, would be proclaimed. Okay. Verse 23 says, and there was no more upon, verse 22, it says, for this I looked, okay, and behold, the 12 fellows appeared no more. Nor the two little fellows, okay? And those two little fellows going into Garba and Otho, okay, which is during the time of the year of the 4 Caesars, okay? And they're referred to as these two little fellows because they had the shortest reign of all the emperors, which we'll get into that, okay? And it says, and there was no more upon the eagle body, okay, but 3 heads that rested. So now it's going back to those 3 heads, okay, coming back. And they will come back as a Flavian dynasty. Okay, so you got the 3 heads that rested and the 6 wings. Okay, because 3, all right, of the fellas had already ruled. Okay, so you had the 3 heads and the 6 little wings. So there's 9 Caesars left. Okay, after the reign of Tiberius. Okay, and I say which other Tiberius? You have Caligula, Claudius, Nero. Okay, and then you will have there's 3, and then you will have the year of the 4 Caesars. Okay, there's 7. All right, and then you will have Titus. All right, and Domitian. Okay, which make up the 9 that was left. And that's what 2nd Esdras 9:23 is going into. It says, then saw I also that 2 little fellows divided themselves from the 6, going back into Garbo and Otho, okay, and remained under the head that was upon the right side, for the 4 continued in their place. And this is all going into the year, okay, of the 4 emperors, okay. And I'm going to read these 2, and then we're going to break all of it down, go to the list. It says, I beheld, and lo, the fellows that were under the wing thought to set up, okay, themselves and to have the rule, okay. So you had that those pretty much those civil wars in that year of 69 AD, okay, for who was going to be the next Caesar. And this was after the death of Nero. After the death of Nero is what you have the end of the Judean Claudian dynasty. Okay, so those Caesars that reigned, okay, from the family of Julius Caesar, okay, it ended with Nero, all right, because that super freak, all right, didn't have any children, all right, because he was more into everything but women. Okay, so he didn't have any children, so the dynasty ended with him. Okay, and then you will have the year of the four emperors, which will end with Vespasian, which will be the beginning of the Flavian dynasty. Those three heads, okay, being born in the earth again. All right, hold on real quick, Salakia. Oh, Salakia. Yeah, I had to take that call, but okay, yeah, let's read this and we go into the year of the four emperors. Okay. Um, it says, I beheld, and lo, the fellows that were under the wing thought to set up themselves and to have the rule. And I beheld, and lo, there was one set up, but shortly it appeared no more. And this is Gabo, all right, the first one that would rule in this succession of Caesars in the year of the four emperors. And the second was a sooner, all right, was sooner away than the first. Okay. So now let's get into this. And the second was Otto. Okay. But now let's go back to the list. Okay. And break all this down. You know. So let's see where we at. Um yeah. So let's go to the list. Like, all right. So you go to the list, and the list got it. You got it separated too. So we can okay. So remember, it's the Julio Claudian dynasty, all right, which started with Julius, okay, and it ended with Nero. So when Nero, okay, was put, okay, he put himself to death. All right, he committed suicide. Esau, damn coward. All right, so after that you had Gobbo. Okay, he was the first of those four feathers. Okay, of the Caesars to come in the time of the year of the four Caesars. Okay, now he came to power at the end, okay, of in the middle of 68 AD, and he was taken down in the beginning, by Otto, okay, January the 15th. So even though his rulership started in 68, he was taken down in 69. So in 69 AD, you had 4 emperors to sit the throne. All right, with Gabo being the first. All right, and he only reigned 7 months. That's why he's one of those 2 little fellas. Okay, because he had the shortest reign. All right, he had the second shortest reign amongst the 12. Okay, you had Gabo. Then you had Otto, the one that will come after him. In his time, he will be removed quicker than him in 3 months. Okay, so these represent the 2 little fellas of the 12. Okay, because both of their rulerships together was just 10 months. All right, then you had Vertilius. Okay, he will come up as the 3rd. Okay, and he will be taken down in December. Okay, 20th of 69, and then you will have, all right, Vespasian. Okay, and Vespasian. Okay, Titus and Domitian. Okay, those are those 3 heads from the beginning that will come back reincarnated. All right, Vespasian being Julius Caesar. All right, reincarnated. Titus being Pompey, and Domitian being Marcus Crassus. Okay, so those 3 heads that were at rest, preserved to last. Okay, are these 3. Okay, Vespasian, Titus, and Domitian. Okay, so in 69 AD, you have 4 Caesars to sit the throne. Okay, so and this Second Esdras goes into that. That's what Second Esdras is explaining. And remember, this is in the time of Esdras. This is almost 400 years before all this is taking place. Over 400 years. So let's get back to Second Esdras. All right. Who is this? Zahanik Kata. Who is this nigga? It might be Eve. A Kamala supporter. But yeah, so let's go back to Second Esdras. Okay, 11. All right, Second Esdras 11 and 25 reads again. It says, "I beheld, lo, the fellows that were under the wing thought to set themselves up to have the rule." All right, the year of the 4 emperors. "And I beheld, and lo, there was one set up." All right, Galbo. He ruled for 7 months, but shortly it appeared no more. "And the second was sooner, Otho." All right, away than the first. He ruled 3 months. All right, and lo, it says, "And I beheld, and lo, the 2 that remain." All right, Vertilius and Vespasian thought also in themselves to reign, and when they so thought, beheld, there awakened one of the heads that were at rest, namely that was in the midst. Okay, so Vespasian, he represents one of these, 2 wings, these 2 fellas. Okay, there will be, the last 2 of the 4 emperors. Okay, but then it said what? The head awakened. So that spirit of Julius Caesar, okay, that was in Vespasian, because he was Julius coming back, it awakened. Okay, and through him, which he was the 4th, of those 4 fellas, he was the 4th, and he put an end, okay, to the power struggle. So the one the head that was in the midst at the beginning in Second Esdras 11 and 1 came back as Vespasian, the beginning, the start of the Flavian dynasty. All right, and you have to understand. So just to go into the backdrop, so you had Nero, you had 66 AD. Okay, and Nero set Rome on fire and blamed it on the Christians. And when I say the Christians, I mean Israelites that follow Yahushua. All right, not this madness of the day. okay, a nigga, with a Bluetooth hiding Easter eggs, okay? That's not the Christians, okay, of that time, all right? But you had Israelites that will follow Yahushua that was in Rome, okay? And Nero, okay, he set Rome afire, and blamed it on the Christians because he was doing bad politically, okay, and to take pressure off him, he pretty much did a false flag and blamed it on Jake, okay, which started, what we know as the Christian persecutions, okay, which really was the Israelite persecutions, okay. So Nero did that, and also you had Jake rebelling in Judea, okay. You had the Zealots and the Sicaris. They was rebelling in Judea. That's what you have to start of what they call the Roman Jewish wars. Okay. Matter of fact, let me get that. Roman Jewish war. Let's get it. All right. So the Roman Jewish wars. Okay, which we wasn't Ish. All right. This is Rome versus Jacob. All right, Jacob and Esau. Okay. So you had a series of large-scale revolts, okay, by Israelite subjects against the Roman Empire between 66, all right. Now I say 135, but ultimately the thick of it was 66 through 73 AD. So you had this happening in 66 AD, and Nero pretty much, Jake was kind of getting the best of Nero, all right, in those legions, because Jake knew guerrilla warfare, and Jake, you know what I'm saying? So Nero wasn't a military guy. So Vespasian was pretty much on the countryside, and he was removed from the courts of Nero because him and Nero fell out, because Nero used to have these concerts where he played what they call the lyre, like this violin, and he was to make people, the nigga was crazy, man. Nero used to make people, applaud him like he was just this rock star. All right. So he took Vespasian on the tour with him while he was playing the lyre, and he caught Vespasian sleep, and he would have killed him, but Vespasian was a war hero. And if he would have did that, they would have called it a big revolt. So he just expelled Vespasian from his courts. And Vespasian ended up back, in this little hometown where he was at on the countryside, being a mule breeder. But when Jake started rebelling, and Nero pretty much couldn't quell the rebellion, all right, of the Zealots and the Sicarii, he had to go get Vespasian, okay, which was a military strategic, and he had to go get Vespasian to go on the campaign, okay, against Jake. So while Vespasian was on campaign going against Jake, which Jake almost put Vespasian to death, he was catching hell too, a lot of Jake died, but they was catching Jake hell. Then it was fortified. How Judea is built is fortified. So Vespasian, begins to start conquering Jake, taking Jake down, crucifying Jake, running through Jake towns, sieging Jake, starving Jake out. So Vespasian starts to get the upper hand. But while Vespasian is doing this, all right, you had and Titus was with him. That's how you know Titus was Pompey, because Titus was his father's lieutenant, and Pompey and Julius Caesar, you go back to the first triumvirate, they had those military backgrounds, okay? They were known to be, military strategics, okay? So it makes sense that Vespasian and Titus was Julius Caesar and Pompey, all right, coming back, okay? So Vespasian and Titus, Domitian was young. He was like 12 years younger than Titus, so he, was out the way. You know what I'm saying? So you had Vespasian and Titus on the campaign against Jake and Judea, okay, from 66 to 69. okay, AD. So when Nero killed himself, all right, you had Gobbo, the first of the four emperors. He came and made a place for the throne, all right, and he had his 7 months, and he was taken down, all right, and Titus, Vespasian actually sent Titus to congratulate Gobbo, but Gobbo got killed before he got there. So Titus came back to the campaign. All right. Then you had Otho. Then you had Vitellius. So while this is happening, remember Vespasian is on the campaign against Judea. He's taking Jake down. Okay, he's trying to close his campaign out. All right. But when Vitellius, became Caesar, what happened? It was like a spirit was in Vespasian to leave off from the campaign of Judea, leave Titus in charge, okay, and go claim, okay, the throne of Rome. All right, go claim the Caesar, all right, the Caesar title of Rome. And what he did, he didn't go straight to Rome. He went to Egypt and he cut off the grain supply, because that's what Egypt. That's what Rome was getting all their free food for the bread and circus coming from Egypt. So he went to Egypt because he was a governor in Egypt before, and he had connections. So he went to Egypt. Vespasian went to Egypt. He cut off the grain supply, and he starved Vitellius out. Okay, and it was uproars in the city. And by the time he marched on Rome, he was marching in as a hero, as a savior from Vitellius. All right, and Vespasian already being the people's champ, just like Julius was. They welcomed him to Rome as a hero. So he ran through Vitellius and he, became Caesar, and that was the beginning of the Flavian dynasty. Okay, so when it said their head was awakened, okay, Vespasian was always Julius Caesar. And like the spirit of Julius, came down all of a sudden. No, it was always him. Okay, but the Lord, he activated that spirit in Vespasian, at the end of 69 AD, and he went and claimed, okay, the Caesarship of Rome. All right, and he left Titus to deal with, because he had already, put most of the rebellion down with Jake. So he left Titus to finish it off, and that's why you have the Ark of Titus, okay, to commemorate, 70 AD. Okay, because Vespasian had to go and get Rome in order. Okay, and Titus, he was given credit for taking down Jake in 70 AD. Because his father had to, go secure, the Caesarship, okay, to himself. That spirit of Julius, okay, Caesar that was in him, the Lord awakened it. Because you go to it, Vespasian really was chilling. Remember, he was a mule breeder. He wasn't even, he was straight. He was just pretty much like a country boy. Like one of these, these Trump supporters in Texas. Okay, had a few cattle, of a few head of Angus cattle chilling. Okay, but hey, eventually the Lord woke up the emperor spirit in him, and he went, and became emperor, to close out the year of 4 Caesars. So, where we at? All right, so let's go. And it says, verse 29. It says, and when they saw, and when they so thought, behold, there awakened one of the heads that were at rest. Namely, it was in the midst, for that was greater than the 2 other heads. And then I saw, all right, and the 2 other heads, okay, it's Titus and Domitian in this time. Okay, it was Pompey and Crassus, but now speaking of Titus and Domitian. It says, and then I saw that the 2 other heads were joined with it. Okay, and this is that Flavian dynasty. And behold, the head was turned. All right, the head was turned with them that were with it, and did eat up the 2 feathers. All right, of the wings that would have reigned. So Vespasian put an end, okay, to the power struggle in the year of the 4 emperors. He put an end to it. Okay, he because when you when you eat something that doesn't exist anymore. Okay, you devour something that doesn't exist. So that power scroll during the year of the four emperors, was consumed, okay, or quelled by Vespasian. Okay, it says that the head, all right, in the midst, okay, that was revived, that came back. It said, but this head put the whole earth in fear and bear rule in it over all those that dwell upon the earth with much oppression, and it had the governance of the world more than all the wings, all right, there had been. Okay, because Vespasian was known, they referred to him as bringing Rome back to glory. Okay, like he revived, Rome. Okay, that's why you got the Flavian Colosseum. Okay, because a lot of that money, matter of fact, the money that they got from the temple, okay, the money that they got from my temple, that's what they built the Colosseum with. And it said that they got so much gold from the temple, okay, that the price of gold went down in Rome. How much gold, that they was able to put in circulation, from the temple. Okay. Let's see. Here's it has some on that. How much gold? All right, so this is a quick overview. It says, according to the first century historian Josephus, the Roman Empire of Vespasian and his son Titus took 50 tons of gold and silver vessels from the Jerusalem temple during the conquest of 70 AD. Okay, the exact amount of gold in Jerusalem temple is unknown, but it's generally believed that a large amount was displayed there. The Bible says that David provided Solomon with 3,000 tons of gold to build the temple. Shit. So let's look up 50. Let's look up 50 tons. We'll go. How much is 50 tons? All right, so 50 tons of gold. All right, and get calculators out. So 50 tons of gold, let's say 2023, a ton of pure gold. This is 1 ton of pure gold is worth $55 million. 1 ton. So 50 times 55 million. Let's see what we got. All right. So this 2.7 billion. Yep. 2.7 billion. Okay. 2.7 billion. And it said that Solomon, King David gave Solomon 3,000 tons of gold to build their first temple. Okay. And that's just in gold. It ain't talking about silver. He just gave him 3,000 tons in gold. So that's $165 billion worth of gold that King David gave to King Solomon to build the temple. That's just the gold to build with. It's not talking about, the personal treasury, King David's personal, the rich men of Israel, what they had. Like, it's crazy. Crazy numbers, man. All right. Don't let these niggas today fool you like they got no money, man. These niggas ain't playing with no numbers, man. And that's just a goal. So you still have the silver, the precious stone, So the temple could have easily been, $500 billion, you know, just the temple. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's crazy. All right, but so let's go back into second Esdras, uh, 11. All right, and 32 said, but this head put the whole earth in fear and bear rule in it over all. And this was during the time of the Flavian dynasty. All right, they dwell upon the earth with much oppression, and it had the governance of the world more than all the wings that had been. And after this, I beheld, and lo, the head that was in the midst suddenly appeared no more, like as the wings. So eventually, Vespasian died, but there remained the two heads, all right, Titus and Domitian, which also in like sort ruled upon the earth and over those that dwelt therein, that dynasty. Okay, and the dynasty represents, a family of monarchs that were ruled in succession. Okay, Cyrus had a dynasty in Persia. Okay, all those men, okay, of that same family that were ruled in succession. Okay, and it says, not beheld, and lo, they would inherit the authority from their father, the rulership, okay, the dominion, okay, the wealth. They would inherit all that from their father. So those two heads, okay, which ruled, in like manner, they inherited, their dynasty from their father. And I beheld, and lo, the head upon the right side, which was Domitian, devoured it, and that was upon the left side. So Domitian, okay, let's say he had which the scriptures let us know, because history kind of go back and forth. Say it was rumored that Domitian had part in the death of Tiberius. I mean, not Tiberius, but Titus, his brother, his older brother, which died of an illness. Okay, and also Domitian poisoned him. Okay, he devoured his brother, which Titus, knew of certain plots that Domitian had, but his little bro, he had a soft spot for him. He would let him make it, but eventually Domitian, devoured him, got him out of there. Okay. And said, then I heard a voice which said unto me, look before thee and consider the thing that thou seest. And I beheld, and lo, as it were a roaring lion. All right. Now this is Yahweh Shai. Okay, chased out of the wood, and I saw that he sent out a man's voice unto the eagle and said, hear thou. All right, so this is pretty much because Yahweh Shai, remember, Yahweh Shai is giving all power, at this point, because Yahweh Shai has been crucified, and he's at the right hand of the Father. All right, and all power has been given to Yahweh Shai at this point. Okay, and it's through Yahweh Shai, as we say, the Most High set it up one and put it up another, but it's through, okay, Yahweh Shai, he's doing these things, okay, and just to prove it, okay, and how does Yahweh Shai address a kingdom? He removes them from power, okay, just as he's about to do in this time, but this was speaking about, ancient pagan Roman Empire. So let's get a few precepts on that. All right, so you go here to Matthew. All right, let's get Matthew 28. All right, this is the book of Matthew 28 and 18. Yeah, Matthew 28:18. It says, and Yahushua came and spake unto them, saying, all power is given unto me in heaven and in earth. Okay, all power is given unto me in heaven and in earth. Okay, so Yahushua has been given all authority, and even from the Father, even when you go to the book of John. All right, so you just going into the authority of Yahushua. All right, book of John, chapter 5, verse 22, it said, for the Father judgeth no man, but have committed all judgment unto the Son. Okay, the Father judgeth no man, but have committed all judgment unto the Son. Okay, so the Father, has committed all judgment, okay, unto the Son. Okay, so now the Lord's will, the Most High's will, is being carried out through Yahweh Shai. He committed that judgment to Yahweh Shai. All right, and then what does it say in Ephesians? Okay, I think that's Ephesians, because it said that in Psalms. All right, but you go to Ephesians 4:8. All right, Ephesians 4:8 said, wherefore he said, when he ascended up on high, he led captivity captive and gave all gifts to men. So Yahweh Shai has the ability, all right, to put nations in captivity and take nations out of captivity. Okay, put nations in rulership, remove nations from rulership. Okay, and that's what Yahweh Shai is coming to do in the end time, but in this time frame, referring to the Roman Empire, pagan Rome. Okay, Yahweh Shai, would eventually, okay, remove this devil from power, these Edomites. Okay, and then you'll have Jake to begin to rule, all right, what they call the Holy Roman Empire. And Jake started ruling, right after Domitian. The last of that 12 fellas, Jake, began to be in those high positions. And the king and Rome was fully, being ran by Jake. As you begin under Constantine. Okay, well, you had emperors way before Constantine, Jake emperors way before Constantine. But Constantine, is when you mark those 1,000 years, okay, of Jake, being in power. Okay, so just wanted to show that. But let's go back to second Esdras. Get ready to finish it out. And I pray that this is making sense. It's coming together. It's coming out. All right. The second Esdras 2:37 says, I beheld, and lo, as it were a roaring lion chased out of the wood, and I saw that he sent out a man's voice unto the eagle and said, Hear thou, I will talk with thee, and the highest shall say unto thee. All right. So Yahweh Shai speaking on behalf of the Father. Art not thou, all right, it that remaineth of the four beasts from what? Daniel the 7th chapter. Okay. Daniel 7 and 7. If a brother want to post that. I think it's Daniel 7. Yes, it's Daniel 7 and 7. If a brother want to post that, Bible Shah. Okay, because they represent the last of those four beasts in Daniel. Okay, the Syrian Babylonian Empire. Okay, the Medo-Persian Empire, the Greeks. Okay, that leopard, and then you had that fourth beast. Okay, so I believe that Daniel 7 and 7, and I'll just read it real quick. Daniel 7 and 7, and it says, and after this I saw in the night vision, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth, and devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it, and were diverse from all the beasts that were before it. All right, going into that Senate. Okay, these other beasts, okay, were ran through monarchies. Okay, but this one had the factor of a Senate. They had emperors. Okay, but the emperor was accompanied with a Senate house. Okay, they had his own, rule and authority. Okay, and it says, and it stumped the residue with the feet of it, speaking of his mighty military. Okay, which it would hammer other kingdoms. Rome would hammer other kingdoms with his mighty military, and it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. Okay, and it had 10 horns. You see, so going back here, all right, those 10 horns, represent those vassals of the pagan Rome. Okay, the Vandalgoths, those different families. Okay, there was vassal states, okay, vassal governments under, pagan Rome. Okay. Uh so let's go back here and it says, and the fourth, all right, came and overcame all the beasts that were past and had power over the world with great fearfulness and over the whole compass of the earth, all right, the known world of that time, okay, with much wicked oppression, and so long time dwelt he upon the earth with deceit. For the earth, all right, has thou not judged with truth, for thou hast afflicted the meek, which were Israelites, okay, and you go into those persecution of the Christians, beginning with Nero, all right, you will have Jake, pretty much being made sport of Christians. There was and crucifixion was a normal thing. Okay, even when you go into a Roman candle, all right, those Romans, even Rome, they would set Jake on fire on the stick. Okay, so you had different Caesars and nobles, they will be eating, and they will set Jake on fire for their light, for their candle. Okay, and so you get the term Roman candle, man. And these devils be, throwing little slick shots while you got that 4th of July. All right, that's the name of a firework, a Roman candle. Okay, showing you some same devils back, making mockery, man. Okay, was you just going to the cruelty? You will have the gladiator games, and the opening act, before the gladiators will fight, is that they will feed, the Christians, the Jakes, the followers of Yahweh to wild beasts. And you had times where the Lord would work miracles and those beasts wouldn't, harm Jake. Okay, or something they had times that it would. Okay, and Apostle Paul, he went into that. Okay, so in the Hebrews 11, it says, "Thou hast loved liars." Okay, because the Roman nobility, okay, was extremely corrupt. It was they were pushing propaganda back then. Okay, it was a very corrupt and lewd, rulership. Okay, but they had, what you call administration skills to where, they could run things efficiently and they could pamper, their slaves, man. All right, but this was a wicked rulership. It says, and destroyed the dwellings of them that brought forth fruit. Okay, and has cast down the walls of such as did no harm, because Yahweh didn't teach his followers to rebel. Okay, the believers of Yahweh, they just taught righteousness, and they was against a lot of, the customs of pagan Rome. They was against idolatry. Okay, and they ain't look at the Caesar as a god. Okay, and it says, therefore, is thy wrong for dealing come unto the highest, and thy pride unto the mighty. Yeah, eventually, okay, just like every empire, the wickedness that they would do against the Israelites, the Lord would eventually judge, just like he did in ancient Egypt. Okay, same way he would do in ancient Egypt. Eventually, all right, pagan Rome got beside itself, started handling Jake any type of way, and the Lord intervened. Okay, and you go there real quick in Exodus 6 and 5. Okay, it's the book of Exodus, chapter 6. Okay, in verse 5, it says, "And I also have heard the groaning of the children of Israel, whom the Egyptians keep in bondage, and I have remembered my covenant. Wherefore say unto the children of Israel, I'm the Lord Yahweh Bashim Shai, and I will bring you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians, and I will rid you out of their bondage, and I will redeem you out with an stretched out arm and with great judgment, with a stretched out arm and with great judgments, man." Okay, and that's what the Lord, is doing in this time. All right, he's going to do the same thing he did in ancient Egypt. Okay, he he delivered us and took down Egypt. All right, in ancient Rome, it wasn't a great deliverance, but he dismantled that Edom, that pagan Roman Empire. Okay, and Jake would come into power, but those Jake emperors, they was, they ruled with more integrity, but they was still off. Okay, but the Lord gave Jake some relief, when Constantine came into power. That's when Rome started to tolerate what they say Christians. So it was a period of relief. Jake wasn't being tossed to wild animals and persecuted. Okay. So keep going. It said, therefore, is thy wrongful dealing come unto the highest, and thy pride unto the mighty. The highest also have looked upon the proudful times, and behold, they are ended, and his abominations are fulfilled, and therefore appear no more thou eagle, nor thy horrible wings, nor thy wicked feathers, nor thy malicious heads, nor thy hurtful claws, nor all thy vain body. And this was the end of that. That Edom, that Rome being ruled, okay, by Edom. Okay, it will begin to transfer into Jake. But that extreme wickedness of pagan Rome, all right, dwindled. Okay, it will be no more. It said that all the earth may be refreshed and may return, being delivered from thy violence, and that she may hope for the judgment and mercy, all right, of him that made her. Okay, and we're in time now where the Lord is finna do this again on a much massive level, because it pretty much represents, Malachi. Malachi sums this up, and we'll end it here. All right, in Malachi, all right, this is the book of Malachi. Malachi 1. Okay. And 4, it says, whereas Edom said we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Okay. And they was impoverished. So pretty much Malachi 4:1 picks up, prophetically, at the end of Edom Rome. Okay. Going into the dark ages. He was pushed out of power. It said, thus said the Lord of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down. So they came back during the Renaissance. What the Lord promised he will throw down. And this is what we at now. They shall call them the border of wickedness. Okay. Just says, all right, Rome, was known for his wickedness. Okay. The Greeks, when Alexander came into power and his generals, split up the empire. Wickedness, what? Multiplied in the earth, man. So every time this devil gets in power, wickedness multiplies, man. Okay, it says, in the people against whom the Lord have indignation forever, man. So just as the Lord had indignation against, all right, pagan Rome is even more now, all right, in Rome 2.0 in this beast system. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much the point. Lord will, you brothers, all right, and you sister was edified. I know you're kind of lengthy. Just wanted to get into that. All right, so till next time I say shalom. Kwame Yashala, Bible Ball soon. Shalom.